the former MVP Russell Westbrook with an opportunity to make history on Monday night. Tied with Wilt Chamberlain for the most consecutive games with a triple-double at 9. Can he make it 10? It's a 9-game night in the NBA. Hey everybody, welcome back into our NBA TV studios. This is Game Time, presented by Kia. I'm Kristen Ledlow, alongside our Derek Fisher, David Griffin. It is a 9-game Monday night in the NBA. You guys want to get right to the highlights?
Let's do it.
Let's just dive right in, shall we? The Portland Trailblazers in OKC to take on a Thunder team that's won 10 of its last 11 games. Paul George averaging 38 points a game over his last 5. And he had 17 points in the first quarter alone.
Talking about, those aren't just your average points right there.
Faking the spin, getting the step back 3 to fall. Sometimes you're just feeling it.
Don't hurt him, Paul. Yeah. That's not real.
We're renaming him. He is no longer PG-13. He is now NC-17.
I can get there with that. These highlights are certainly making that case.
He pump faked 3 Blazers. Westbrook, though, coming into this, as I mentioned, with 9 consecutive triple-doubles. There he is with the assist to Ray Felton, then the jumper over C.J. McCollum, and rocking the baby. The Thunder would lead the way 68-49 at the half. Look at this, though. MC Hammer's there.
Oh, can't touch this.
Awesome. Damian Lillard driving, laying it in. Then C.J. McCollum, Jake Layman for the corner 3. He had 17 points in this game. Evan Turner to Lillard for the 3-pointer. Dame had 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, but it couldn't quite be enough in this one. Rodney Hood missing the dunk there. Russell Westbrook with the rebound. Outlets to Paul George for the layup on the other end. And those two just clicking like I don't know that we've ever seen them before.
I mean, this was setting up to be one of those OKC games where you worry about the late decision making and the shot selection. And Paul and Russell really just took over. And it's when you're going to get triple doubles, it helps to have a guy like Paul George.
Yeah.
The ball too.
Russ had 21 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, and PG-13 got his triple-double as well. With 47 points, 8 of 13 from three-point land, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists as the Thunder go on to win it 120-111.
Russ was 0 for 5 from 3 before that shot right there. Amazing.
Let's hear from both of those guys as they caught up with Leslie McCaslin after the game. And not only did Russell Westbrook make individual history, they made history as teammates. The first ever to have at least 20-point triple-doubles. That's not to say anything of the 40-point triple-double from PG.
It's remarkable to see, you know, again, we talked about Russ Westbrook has Paul George to pass to. And he's shooting the 3 at such a prolific rate. The NC-17 nickname. How about this for obscenity? He's shooting 49% from 3 his last 12 games, scoring 36 a game.
I wonder if we can get that censor beep over his highlights.
I like that.
I like that idea. Moving on.
Yeah, no, moving on to number 0. Oscar Robertson wore 0 as well, but Russell, what he continues to do, allowing Paul George to have the room to have the MVP type season he's having, but to not shut down in his level of competition.
Right.
He's not shooting the ball well. I don't think he had the greatest offseason in terms of coming in the normal condition that we're accustomed to seeing him in. So even though he struggled percentage-wise offensively, he's still doing all of the little things to help his team win in terms of rebounding and distributing. And when you have that type of leadership, I think that's why Paul George had some of the things he mentioned.
Well, after the break, the highlights continue in Texas with the Mavs in Houston to take on the Rockets in our game night matchup on NBA TV. And after James Harden gets 30 more, Ice Trey was in our building, or Trey TL. I don't know. We're going to ask him. We're going to settle it once and for all. Trey Young in studio later as Game Time continues. Of at least 30 points.
So here's a question. How many of those numbers on the Wilt Chamberlain streak, how many of those were doctored up the way James Harden's just was.
Oh, that's fair.
I mean, I'm just curious.
Also harsh.
Were they were they fouling at the end of games so that he could get points? I wonder. We don't know that, right? I mean, we have this assumption that everything was on the up and up.
That's
maybe
fair.
It wasn't.
We don't know.
We don't know.
That's fair.
I think he averaged 48 minutes a game.
Yeah,
a lot
for
of
sure.
those.
Never came out
right.
of the game.
Yeah.
No resting. I do remember, though, talking to James shortly after his 8th game in a row of at least 30 points. Like, how have you done this for 8 straight games? What's working so well offensively? Now he's done it 30 times in a row. When you reach that level, when you are on a tear the way that James Harden has been, where is your mind? What's your mentality as you take the floor?
I have no clue.
It's like, I don't know, I didn't do it. Did you see my name on there? No.
To keep it real. No, but I think that James, he made comments recently about how locked in he is.
Right.
So in reality, it really doesn't matter who they're playing, what night of the week it is. He's locked in a way that even on a night like tonight, he was 6 of 17 from 3. But he's just finding a way to get points. And, you know, Griff has some strong feelings about how he got 30.
He
but
has the evergreen
Hey,
line.
you know, it is what it is.
I'm sure Oscar Robertson's big screened everybody off so he could get fake triple doubles too. I saw that.
He only
This is
had
my get off my lawn moment.
3 points in the first quarter, though. Finished with 31.
The only thing I heard in your question, by the way, Kristen, when you said you talked to him after the 8th and he's gone
Right.
to 30, is that you propelled him 22 more games. That's what I heard. And all.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, you should.
So perhaps if I had been around to talk to Wilt, he would have gone 70.
Who knows?
71.
Spoken like a smart man.
There's really no way of
Spoken like a
knowing.
smart man.
All right, our Jared Greenberg caught up with James.
Their win, its 4th consecutive.
He did it, as did the Thunder. 120 to 111, the final score over the Portland Trail Blazers. Paul George led the way with 47 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. Russell Westbrook, of course, made NBA history with his 10th straight triple-double. He passed Wilt Chamberlain. He tied him just a couple of nights ago. 10 in a row, which is actually a little surprising to me that he's averaged it for 3 seasons now and never had 10 straight. Look
Very
at this.
surprising.
The tweets keep coming. Laker tie. Russell Westbrook just
Even better,
made
though, that he
history.
makes the 3 that puts PG-13 into the triple-double.
I know, I love that.
That's even cooler.
The way that those two have come together, watching the two of them play together now is really something special.
Well, and if Paul's going to go 8 for 13 from 3, you're going to get a few
Yeah.
assists playing with him.
Yes.
It's something different to get your 10th assist on a Russell Westbrook made 3-pointer.
Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, for Russell, you know, people have to start to figure out if they want to still question whether or not guys can be successful next
Yeah.
to him.
Right.
That's something that everybody wants to throw out there when things are not going well.
That's right.
But Paul George is having an MVP season.
If you've got an MVP teammate and you've got a team sitting in the top 3 in the Western Conference playoff picture, that argument's dead, correct?
You've got to think that it's a pretty shaky argument. And the one thing that people always cite is that late in games, their shot decision making isn't great and that they lose some close games. I still think there's some validity to that because Russ is so competitive. He goes blind with that competitive rage, and he's going to have a couple really bad possessions late in games. I think that's valid. But
Right.
to say you can't be successful as a player with him, there doesn't seem a lot of evidence to support that.
Well, let's hear from both Russ and PG after the game. Paul George and Russell Westbrook from Tyler a couple ago.
That's pretty strong.
That's funny. Very strong tweet. Very strong tweet. I think, though, we may have forgotten what GOAT actually stands for. Greatest of all time actually eliminates 2 from contention, but it doesn't make the tweet less funny.
You don't know which category he's talking about, though.
That's fair.
Paul just said Russell's that for teammates.
PG could be the MVP this season, but if Russ was before, it's just a younger and older GOAT.
We're going to give Tyler the benefit of the doubt all the way through this.
I'm just going to.
I'm with you, Tyler. Derek's not. How far, though, do you think that this Thunder team can go in the Western Conference?
Where I think they can go is all the way. Whether they will or not, to me, depends on some of the things that Griff mentioned about late game execution and shot quality at the end of games.
All the way as in a championship? Is
Yes.
it- okay.
I think that in the Western Conference, because of the way that they defend, the level of physicality that they play with, and the level Paul George is playing at, they are kind of, to me, the dark horse that can stand up to the Warriors in a Western Conference Finals matchup. Adams and Cousins matching up in the middle. Paul George, if Roberson comes back, Westbrook, they have defensively, I think, what you need to try and impact the Warriors. But the execution and the shot quality offensively is what may hold them back to not get over that hump.
Yeah, and I think Schroeder's been so critical for them in terms of what he's been able to give them. You know, people don't talk about this. First of all, I think Paul George is the most underrated superstar in our league, and I really don't think it's close. I think he's the most underrated by miles.
Wow.
And this is a guy that when we played Indiana in the playoffs, and Paul George was really their only focal point offensive player.
Right.
Every time he had the ball, we thought he was making a basket. Every time he touched it late in some of those games, it didn't matter if LeBron was on him. It didn't matter who was on him. When he gets rolling, he can really score. He defends. He makes the right read the vast majority of the time. He's incredibly coachable. He's a good teammate. And we just don't talk about him all that much when we talk about the very best players in our league. And he's become incredibly prolific from a statistical standpoint as well.
Right.
I mean, tonight's game is absurd. 47 points on 26 shots. 9 of 11 from the line and a triple-double, and we just don't talk about it. And I think when you look at the Schroeder acquisition, you look at what they did in successfully recruiting and retaining Paul George, they took their tax exposure down by $70 million from where it was entering the summer, or rather after Paul decided to stay. Sam Presti ought to get a lot of love as Executive of the Year, and the fact that that's not talked about very much, also kind of surprising.
Well, we can start the conversation.
Right here. Like we
Game
did
night.
John Collins in the dunk contest.
Yeah, that's true.
We got that
Started
done,
right
too.
here. All right. Well, speaking of the Hawks, Ice Trey was in the building. Or Trey TL, perhaps. Either way, we're going to ask him. We're going to settle it. Trey Young in our studio. Next. With at least 20 points and 10 assists than this guy has. And he's only halfway through his rookie season, but perhaps there is no greater accomplishment than doing game night with us. None of those other guys were here as rookies, I'd like to point out. Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks is in our studio. First and foremost, settle a debate. Which nickname do you like best? The Ice Trey, Trey TL?
I mean, I leave that all up to the fans. For me, I like Ice Trey.
Yeah.
I've heard Trey TL too, so either one of those I like.
Perhaps we use Trey TL as the location and Ice Trey as the nickname.
Okay, I go with that.
That can feel fair. Where, though, is your confidence stemming from as a rookie? Because I think that's what's most impressive.
I mean, I think it all starts with just, I mean, how much hard work I put in. I think for any really good player, I think it starts with the work they put in. If you're not as prepared as, I mean, you need to be, I think that's when you lose confidence. And for me, I just put in so much work. That's where I get all my confidence from.
Trey, I wanted to talk to you, man. You know, in football, right, the quarterback position is the premier position. He runs the team. It's his locker room. He has to be able to command his guys. And for you as a rookie coming into the NBA, what have you found from a leadership standpoint in terms of starting to run the locker room, run the team, be the guy that everybody else is leaning on?
I mean, for me, I think it's I'm in a really good situation. Although we lost a guy with Jeremy Lin today, he's helped me so much as far as doing my best of commanding a locker room and earning the respect of my teammates, and just doing the little things that win over your teammates and do things like that. So I've had great veterans and great OGs around me with Jeremy and Vince and those type of guys to help carry me in the right direction as far as the leadership standpoint.
You guys have also had great young players that came in with you, and John Collins, who was here 1 year before. What do you see happening now in that Atlanta locker room, and what are people going to be surprised by that you guys are capable of next year?
I think really just the growth from all of the rookies that came in this year, and you're already seeing it with John, the jump he's made from his rookie season to now. I think really just the growth from all the rookies and John, even the other younger guys. We have a very young team, as everybody knows. So just the growth that we continue in the show, and we want to compete for championships someday. And that's just, it's going to take time. And I always talk about patience, and that's just, it's going to take patience. But we're all going to work to get there.
All right, Trey, without giving, you know, anybody in the Eastern Conference too much information, we don't want to do that. Let's go just take a walk When you have the basketball in your hands, where on the floor, like what are you seeing? You running screen roll in the middle? You like screen rolls on the wing? What are you reading? Are you reading your defender? Are you reading the big? What are you seeing on the weak side? Take the fans through being an NBA point guard and just navigating pick and roll situations.
As the 5-time NBA champion, Derek Fisher defends you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I mean, for me, I like the pick and roll the best. I mean, for me, I think one of my best attributes is my ability to pass and see the floor before things are settled. So if I'm coming off pick and rolls on the wing, I'm not really worried about my defender.
Yep.
I'm reading.
So let's say he jumps up into a no middle type of situation. So now he's trying to force you down this way.
He's forcing me down this way. So my job as a point guard is to read the other 3 defenders. Kristen is help side. So I mean, we have a guy rolling, and my defender's usually going over. So it's my job to find the open man, or if the big doesn't step up to guard me, I have a lane to the basket. So it's my job to get it to the open man as soon as possible, or make a play to score.
All right. See how he hesitated, by the way, calling me the big. You saw that. So I have to recognize the big.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have went in there and scored. I don't know.
Big-ish.
So
Fine, I got your help side.
But then, okay, so first of all, see how many things for people at home that he's thinking about in these situations. So when you're watching the game at home, don't be trying to figure out why he made a mistake one time, because he's literally thinking about 25 things in this scenario. So now take us to, how are you finding that balance now halfway through your first season with when I'm going to score and get my bucket, or I'm making sure I get off the ball right away in those situations?
Well, I think it's time and score, and that's something I've learned. I mean, with Coach Pierce, there's times in the games where, I mean, whether it's a guy who's hot, me being a point guard, I have to know that. If a guy's hot and he's feeling it, you got to keep giving it to the hot hand. Or if the game is up and down, it's just knowing when to score and when to get your teammates involved. And that's something I've learned. And just by watching film and talking to people, I've had a lot of really good role models in my life. So I'm just learning those different types of things.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. I mean, it's pick and roll is hard. And now, I mean, how many pick and rolls per game would you say you're in?
I'm in a lot of pick and rolls. I think that's something that I've always been really good at is pick and rolls. So I feel like I'm in a lot of pick and rolls.
So Trey, a confession here. I am one of the people that was concerned about your ability to play any kind of similar style to what you did in Oklahoma, because you were given such free reign with the ball that a lot of the shots you took, I thought, oh, well, he's not going to be able to get to those. And so all you did to counter that was become more of a driver and showing more of your passing ability. When did you make that recognition that that's how you could help your team best?
I think I've always had that type of ability. It's just doing what the defense was giving me at the time. And at Oklahoma, I mean, there was times when I felt like I was in range or I was able to shoot from long distance, and I felt like the defense was giving me that, so I was doing that. And now it's, I mean, maybe a little bit different than what it was in college. So it's just really just doing what the defense is giving me.
So when we show you those lists of statistics of all the great rookies, the names that you're listed now alongside, how do you respond? Is it something that you're paying attention to yet?
For me, it's you can't help but see it, and it humbles me. Just being on a list with those type of greats. I mean, it's a humbling list to be on. But for me, I want to be on more of those lists. I want to be on lists of point guards who won championships. I want to be considered an all-time great. So that's, for me, I see it, but for me, I just want to continue to get better and improve.
Do you pay attention to the other rookies and what they're doing then this season?
For sure. I mean, it's my class. I'm rooting for everybody in my class. I want to go down as one of the best classes to ever be. Dealt and drafted. So I'm happy for all the guys who are playing well. Luka's playing really well. DeAndre, Jaren Jackson Jr., all my guys. So I'm rooting for them.
You know who else used to do that? Magic Johnson and Larry Bird used to watch each other.
They are good at this
Coast to
game,
coast.
from what I feel like I've heard. All right, Trey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us in studio. If you have nothing going on, we're gonna be here all night. He's like, I didn't sign up for any of that. All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go get some
Like,
rest.
yeah, no, I'm just going to go ahead and take off. But we're going to be back right after this. It is game night Monday night, and we are with you until tip-off in Texas between the Mavs and Rockets. Don't go away.